Alright, we're on.
Alright, cool. Alright, so I'm going to try to talk up because we've got that stuff going. My name is Phillips. I'm going to be presenting to you guys tonight about a tool that's very popular, especially regardless of what field you're in. It's probably something you're going to use. It's called NMAP. So what exactly is NMAP? It is a network mapping tool. It was actually created in 1997 by a guy named Gordon. The idea of that whole tool was there was already several different scanning techniques out there, such as SIN scanning, Christmas scanning, stuff like that, null scan. So these things were kind of floating out there, but they were kind of their own little individual tools. They were kind of scattered about, and this guy created this thing that could actually consolidate all of those techniques into one tool. And through the power of open source, it just kind of evolved into what it is today, which is a lot. So it kind of became like the de facto port scanner because of the fact that so much effort went into this thing, it can actually do so many things. Like I said, it just really blew up and became very popular with the community. Just how popular are we talking? It is available on Linux, Macintosh, Windows, and yes, you can even put it on Android using the NDK to compile. And it's also so popular that it's even made its way into pop culture. Matrix Reloaded, it was actually used by Trinity to hack a city power block. Finding a vulnerability in an SSH server, and she was able to pop up with an exploit to reset the password. Live Free or Die Hard, the hacker in there was also using it. He was actually scanning in secure.org, which is the product page for NMAP. There is the Born Ultimatum, where the CIA is using the GUI front end, NMAP, to try to hack an email server. It's even made its way into the sci-fi world was Dredd, which was a Judge Dredd sequel, which I thought this was really awesome because like this is like very futuristic and future sci-fi. You still have people that aren't running Protocol 2 on SSH. So we're all in the future, we're still using NMAP, so why don't we go ahead and use it in software porno? Yes, there was actually a software porno that actually did a tutorial on how to compile and install NMAP. The author of the NMAP tool actually has these thumbs on his page, where on the last two he actually summarizes it. Go to insecure.org, download NMAP, extract it, run /config, make install, you are done. And from there, you actually go into Army commercials. I actually ran into this one recently on YouTube. The Army commercial had this thing where it was like Anonymous was sitting there talking about being the enemy was no face, it would knock down power structures and stuff like that. And their laptop was apparently scanning recruit at hacker.net, which is a war game site created by Microsoft. So yeah. Also, they were at the end of the commercial recruiting and showing your little command center, and you know that your network's secure when you have a wallpaper that says network secure. So, who uses NMAP? So, like I said, it's kind of a tool that almost, regardless of what you're doing, you can probably find it useful. Network and system administrators, it's great for troubleshooting, it's great for network inventory, it's also good for security testing. If you've ever done consulting and you come into a place, and again, the people that you're working for are not very tech savvy and can't tell you what's on their network, NMAP can help. Hackers, pen testers, it's used a lot, very heavily by this group. It can be used for network and service discovery, host discovery, vulnerability scanning. Developers, if you develop something and you are responsible for deploying it, and it's listening on the server, but for some reason your clients can't get to it, you can scan it from outside of the network and make sure that the firewalls allow things through. It allows you to troubleshoot the network a little. It's really nice because of it. And it's just something I think everybody should just have in their kit in general. So, with that, we'll just go ahead and kind of move into the legal stuff. So, in port scanning legal, the too long didn't read answer is a resounding maybe. The long-winded answer is that cyber law is actually a very complicated subject, and because almost every area created during those cyber laws, it's going to vary vastly depending on the circumstances. So you've got to remember international laws are different from federal laws, which are different from state laws, which are different from county laws, which are different from city laws, and we have packets that are traveling across state, possibly international borders. That's going to complicate things. Now, there are some people that say, you know, port scanning is not a crime. My advice to you is don't take legal advice from a t-shirt or a bumper sticker.
What?
You should just stick to what you're allowed to actually scan, what you've actually been authorized to do so. Just use common sense. You know, get written permission before you do anything. Make sure that it's in scope, or that you own it. Also, you might want to check with your ISP because sometimes ISPs don't like scanning, and they will just go, "That's a violation of our terms of service. Goodbye." And some NMAP scans with the scripts, particularly, some of those are designed to actually exploit vulnerabilities, which also read as hack, and they will get you in some legal trouble. As far as it goes, crashing things, there are some scripts that will actually perform denial of service tests to actually see if something can be crashed. You should stay away from those if you're looking not to crash things. On the other hand, though, the NMAP should not crash things, generally just for normal scans, but it can happen from time to time. If it does happen, I highly recommend you tell your client to get it back online and let me scan it again. Because as a security guy, I actually think it's really interesting if I can knock your server or your network switch over with a port scan. And it brings your infrastructure to its knees. That is a finding in my opinion. And you should probably address that. So, generally it shouldn't happen. Generally you don't have too much to worry about, but NMAP can also do like output files that will actually have timestamps on it. So if the time that it went down is different from the time that you scanned it, it's probably not your fault. So it also would take multiple targets and input methods. We'll go over that in a little bit. You actually have multiple methods for doing host discovery as well as doing scans. It has OS in service version detection. My personal favorite, the scripting engine. And it has various types of evasion and stealth options that will let you try to hide your activity or at least make it more difficult to work with. So, phases of an NMAP scan, you have target enumeration, host discovery, reverse DNS lookups, your port scanning, your version scanning, your OS detection, your trace route if you specify for it to do that, script scanning and output. I will also go ahead and specify here as well. You can actually make your scripts run before any of these phases except for the target enumeration phase. So if you want to, you can actually build a script. You can do host discovery and things like that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So the target enumeration is a step where it actually tries to figure out what exactly did you just tell me to scan. Because there are multiple ways to actually do the input, you can actually specify multiple hosts that you want. You can actually do like some number dash another number at any point at the port number or IPs, and it will scan those. You can also use CIDR notation to specify. You can also provide it by a file. And there's even a switch in NMAP that you can use to generate random IPs for scanning. So any argument that is technically freestanding that is not adjacent to a switch will be interpreted as a target for scanning. So make sure you check your commands. If you mess that up and you want to specify a file, you're going to see a DNS entry where it's like your file as the host name being looked up. You can scan as many as you want. That's the whole point of that target enumeration stage, is to figure out exactly what did you tell it to try to scan. So, like some examples here that we've got, scanning the class CNET subnet. We've got it with the /24. That's a CIDR notation. Or we can actually just say, you know, 192.168.1.1-254, and it will scan the entire range of 1 through 254. If we wanted to just scan 3 hosts, we can actually just put them there with spaces. We can put them there with 192.168.1.100, 101, 103. Or we wanted to, we can just say 100 through 103 with a dash between it, and it'll do 100, 101, 102, 103. So you can actually get away with that as well. Like I said, it can also take a list of hosts as well. If you want to actually put one host per line in a text file, you can actually use the dash capital or lowercase I capital L and give it a file, and it will actually scan the hosts that are listed in that file. So we have a file there named tempwebservers.txt. I can provide that, and it will scan all of the hosts that are listed in that file. Randomly generating. Going back to that whole legal talk, you shouldn't scan things that don't belong to you. Keep that in mind. You can do a lowercase I, capital R, and then the number of hosts that you want it to randomly scan. And it will literally go ahead and scan the sample command I have there, the -IR 50. It's going to generate 50 random IPs. And we're going to have to try to scan on port 80 to see if we can find some web servers on 50 random hosts that we generate. So, target exclusions. You can actually provide --exclude followed by a list of hosts, comma separated, no space between them. Or you can do --exclude file and give it a file of hosts that it's not to scan, and it will skip scanning those. This takes priority over host inclusion. So if you've got it listed in both, it's going to go ahead and exclude because it's taking this as it absolutely cannot happen. So this is useful if you want to scan an entire subnet, but you're told you can't scan these 3 IPs. Trying to sidestep that, I just put those 3 IPs in the file and include the exclude file until it scans the entire subnet. So, export formats. I'm going to go ahead and go over this because it's one of the nice features of NMAP is that you've got a lot of options for how you can actually have it export things. You can use -O capital X and it will export the file as XML. XML is actually a very extremely useful file. In my opinion, you can actually create your own XML parsers to parse the data and do whatever you want with it. NMAP, the NMAP XML file can actually be imported into Metasploit if you're running the database plugin. It can interpret that, pull it in, put the host there, put the services there, put the ports there. Any information that came from NMAP can actually go into that. And then you can also use some tools as well that can actually convert these into HTML, and it will automatically be nicely formatted as a report. The greppable format was just designed to be able to make it so that you can grep through it or cut or do whatever you need to do that makes it really easy to parse from the command line. There's the normal ASCII, which is actually just kind of what you would actually just normally see on your screen. It's the normal output that NMAP will put to your terminal, dump to a file. And then there's script kiddie, which is almost a joke. It's basically your NMAP report and leet speak. And then there's the -O capital A, which will actually output it as your normal ASCII, XML, as well as grep. So if you need to do all of them, that's a good way to do it. Like I said, the XML format, my personal favorite, timestamps on everything. There's also, like I said, you can import it into ZenMap. If you're using Metasploit's DB functionality, you can import it. It also can be parsed by any tools that you wrote, and you can use XSLTproc with that command down there, and you can actually have it export your HTML scan into a nice HTML file, and it will actually print it out as cables and everything. It looks really nice.
It's really nice.
Really nice. Very nice. Yes. So it makes it really easy to go through that. It usually has collapsible things, so you can actually collapse by host and stuff like that. And collapse metrics and stuff. Scan time. -T, 0 through 5. Take your pick. 0 being the slowest, 5 being the fastest. 0, as they like to say, is paranoid, because you're going to be going really, really slow. Sneaky, polite, normal is well-timed, aggressive, and then insane is 5. So this can actually be really useful if you've got a scan that's going across a bad network connection, or like slow across the internet and you're having timeouts. Or if you've got a device that you're trying to scan, or maybe you're trying to scan it across something and you're using really low-end network equipment and you're overwhelming it and crashing it, you can tell it to slow down. So you can throttle it with the tool in the command line. So verbosity. Verbosity can be -V, VV, VV, however many times you want to do that to increase it to a certain level. I normally just go with 3 V's. It's actually a very good. It does output a lot of text, but it is actually pretty good because what it'll do is it will actually tell you exactly what step it's on, and it'll occasionally check in on you and let you know what the ETA is. So it's kind of cool. And then also, if you have verbosity, at least at level 1, and you run NMAP on September 1st, it will say happy birthday to itself. So, fun little thing. So we've got that out of the way. As we said, this tool is a network mapper. So you're sitting there, you've connected to a LAN, and now you're kind of sitting there wondering what's out there. Well, that's kind of where the host discovery phrase comes in. So host discovery is the step where it takes the targets that you've given it, and attempts to determine if they're alive and out there or not. So just because I've generated an IP address doesn't mean it's actually in use. NMAP actually has several ways to accomplish the host discovery. ICMP pings, which is typically the packet type that gets sent when you run the ping command. Or ARP, which is actually a nice little ARP protocol. You can actually have it sweep the network and actually ask, who has this IP, respond to me. And it will respond to you. It's the way to get the IP and map relation. Then there's actually, it can just attempt to make TCP and UDP connections. If you think that both of those are being blocked, you can actually just go, all right, well, let's try to connect some ports and see what happens. This step can actually be skipped entirely. If you want to do -PN, it will tell NMAP to just go ahead and assume that the host is alive. All the hosts that I've told you, you can do that. If you think it's got some really, really good firewall rules, and because of that, it keeps dying, then you host are alive. Generally, you can actually just run the -N switch as well with the IP, and it'll actually just do this step. And it won't do any of the port scanning unless you specify that as well, but this could be pretty good. If you run it as a normal user, you're going to end up with a ping scan, ICMP. If you run it as root, it will normally default to doing the ARP scan. Personally, I prefer the ARP scan myself, because on most Windows systems now, the firewall by default blocks ICMP ping. So as far as it goes, NMAP's going to see all those hosts and be like, none more online. But the ARP goes right through. So that's that. Most host-based firewalls won't block that either. There are a few out there that will block it, but it's not very common. So I really recommend that. So, but after you're done with it, you can now see there are hosts out there. You now know that they exist. So next step is we want to figure out what they're actually running. What are they doing? Are they offering any services to the network that we could actually use? So the most two common scans that I like for TCP port scanning is the connect scan and the send scan. The connect scan will be a -lowercase s capital T. The send scan will be -lowercase s capital S, but it also requires root to do this. Others can include like the Christmas scan, act scan, null scan, etc. They can be a little flaky at times. So generally I don't recommend them because, like I said, most of the time you should have permission to scan what you're scanning. You don't really need this stuff. There's also idle scans, which are kind of an interesting concept. If you can find something that'll let you pull it off, more the merrier. So connect scan, what it does is it will actually establish a full connection to the system. It will actually do the full three-way handshake, and depending on if that was successful or not, record if the port's open or not. Actually, if you're doing scanning, this is the most reliable port scan. Just use it. SendScan does something similar, but it doesn't fully finish the three-way handshake. It's just going to send a send packet, it's going to get the send act back, and then it's going to send a reset, saying, I didn't try to establish this connection when you're doing it alone. So what's kind of cool about that, though, is that no log is created by this method because a connection was never actually established. So it doesn't actually get logged or anything. So that's kind of cool. So that kind of just shows you kind of what happens there, the SYN-ACK, and then all of a sudden our host ends a reset.
Right. Well, you do that because you want to do a stealth mode, or you don't want to be like, you don't want them to know that you're scanning?
That is one of the reasons that you can do that. So yeah, that's basically it won't leave any log. Like if you do any programming that they accept for a network connection, the accept function will never actually return as a result of this happening. So you'll never have a turn to get out of that blocking stage. So it's not going to log, it's not going to actually run any other code or anything. It's just going to say, oh, a failed attempt happened, I don't know, whatever, we'll keep waiting. So if it's closed, on the other hand, we'll send our SYN packet and then we'll get a reset back from the server. So, but depending on if we got a SYN-ACK back or a reset, we'll determine what that does. And like I've got here, I've got two examples. The top left one here, you've got NMAP running up here, netcat listening down here with verbose mode. If you'll notice, this is running the connect scan. You can actually see it says connected to blah blah blah. If it's a listener, it actually detected the connection. Down here we run it, we can see that it's open, but it's still listening down here because it never actually had a full connection happen. So netcat's still listening. It doesn't think that anything happened. Then we have the idle scan. The idle scan is the dash lowercase s, capital I. This is an interesting scan as it uses a third-party host in the scanning process. So basically what you have to do is you have to find a host where it has IP IDs that are incremental. So each time it makes a connection, it goes incremental. Most modern OSs don't actually do that anymore, but however, you can still find like a lot of embedded devices such as network printers and stuff like that out there that will actually still do that because they implement it during network stack and that's the easiest way to deal with that. So, but like I said, it requires that other hosts that can actually do incremental IP IDs in the packets, and basically the way it works is kind of like this. So we will send a SYN-ACK packet back to it. This is the second part of the handshake. And the zombie, which the zombie will represent like a network printer or something like that, will respond to us with a IP ID of 31337. Now we've got two outcomes that can happen here. We've got, it's going to scan a port that's open, or it's going to scan a port that's closed. In the event that it's open, we're going to spoof a packet and make it look like it came from the zombie with a SYN packet. And then this thing is actually going to send a SYN-ACK to the zombie. The zombie didn't actually try to establish this connection, so it's going to send a reset. But because of that, it's going to have to update the IP ID 31338, so it went up 1 byte, and to send that reset. On the other hand, if we send this as well from the zombie, the SYN-ACK there, the SYN-ACK comes back down, or the port's closed, so it'll actually send a reset. And at this point, the zombie doesn't have to reply. So then when we go back to check it again, it either incremented 2 or it incremented 1. If it incremented 1, that means that the port was closed. Or if we actually did if the port was open, then it had to send a reset. It incremented 2, so it went from 7 to 9 versus 7 to 8.
But either way,
the log's
target
hard.
thinks the zombies.
And also, if you think about it, this entire thing is going to be a SYN scan in effect. Because this thing is never going to accept the connection until it's finished up. So the entire thing's not really going to be logged, but as far as it goes from the ISP level, or I'm sorry, the network level, if you have like a intrusion prevention system or IDS, it's going to keep seeing traffic come from that. There's going to be some signs that are subtle enough that you'll be able to pick up on this happening, but for the most part, FTP bounce scan is another type of scan that's out there that you can use. It uses the port command on FTP servers, and with that you can specify you need to connect to this IP on this port. Well, with that, depending on the error code that comes back from the FTP server, will tell us if that port was actually open or closed on the remote host. So, yeah. On the top, you can actually see it does a port scan against the host on 135, so Microsoft SMP port. It will actually try to do the port command try to tell it to do a list, and it will actually end up connecting to that host, doing the full connection, and it's going to actually send the list data to that port. That port's probably not going to know what to do with it, so it's going to just error out. But then we're going to get a 226 transfer complete, telling us that it did send the data over. Cool. So that means the connection was successful. On the other hand, if it fails, in this case we told it to scan port 93, the other server actually replies with a reset and it can't do it. So it comes back to us and responds to it with a error code 425, which is I can't build a data connection. So you can actually use that for scanning. What's cool about this too is if this thing is actually really misconfigured, you could actually possibly use this to scan the internal LAN. So that's kind of cool. If it's internet facing, you can use it to scan hosts inside of the network. Also, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with that technique, but you can also use that to send data to internal clients if it allows anonymous uploads. UDP port scanning, it's very difficult, it's very slow, it's very unreliable due to the stateless connection of UDP. I can have a UDP server listening, and since there's no connection, you're just going to send a packet to me. If I don't understand it, I don't reply. So determining if something's actually listening there or not is really actually kind of difficult to do. A lot of times it's actually going to require that this thing actually send a probe at the UDP service that it actually understands and is expecting. So sometimes you'll have some of those empty packets, but like I said, specific probes usually work the best. Sometimes you'll get lucky and some things will throw an ICMP port unavailable or unreachable error. Sometimes that doesn't happen. So UDP scanning is very, very slow, very, very unreliable. When I mean very, very slow, if you have a host that is literally one hop away from you, and you want to scan all the ports on it, 1 through 65, 535, that scan is probably going to take 18 to 20 hours. And we're not doing any service enumeration or OS detection or scripts. No, I'm literally just running a UDP scan. It's going to take about 18 to 20 hours. So, yeah, very slow. A lot of pen testers skip these, but if time permits, you should go ahead and do them. Because it can actually find things, you know, SNMP, universal plug and play, and also trivial FTP are very good things to find. So it's at least worth it for those. The full scan is kind of lengthy, like I said, usually about 18 to 20 hours. Oops. So scanning mode. Scanning modes can be stacked to perform both at the same time. If I wanted to run a SYN-scan, which is -SS, or UDP scan, which is -SU, I could actually do -lowercase s and capital S, capital U, and it will actually do both. So you can also make it do some other really obscure protocols that most people don't think about, such as SCTP. Yeah, it can scan weird things like that. It would actually probably be pretty obscure otherwise than any other port scanner.
What is SCTP?
It was something that was trying to combine the beauty of TCP and UDP together. And it was like one of those things that nobody could quite get the hang of it, so it kind of became a really obscure protocol that no one uses.
It's actually used in telecom quite a bit.
Is it?
Yeah.
Ah. There you go. There's some telecom. So now you have a way to find your telecom systems. So after port scanning, you can actually see we actually have a list of ports underneath these things, so we now know what they're doing. And because of that, we actually have some servers there. We're kind of getting an idea. The one that's running port 80 and port 443, probably a web server. This thing over here is running port 3306. That's it. It's probably a MySQL database server. And then you've got some of these other hosts at 3389, that's RDP, so that's probably a Windows host. We've got 135, 139, 445, which are all related to SMB. Could be a Windows box, could be a Linux box running Samba. And then we've got port 22 and 111, which is RPC and SSH. Probably a Linux box, but we can do version detection to kind of dig into the services a little bit more. more and figure out what exactly is running on these. So we know what ports are open, but we want to try to figure out what services exactly are running on there as best we can. Ideally, we'd like to know exactly what product is running on there and also what version it is, if possible. This data becomes very useful if you're a pen tester because knowing the exact software that you're running, including the version, is really helpful for finding public exploits for it. So without version detection, we just run it against host. We have port 21. It's guessing it's FTP. The FTP where it says service came from the fact that the default port for that FTP. So it's just kind of guessing based on the port number. With version detection, we can actually see that it's VSFTPD version 2.3.4. It uses banner grabbing to actually get that information. Also, what's fun with that is if you don't know that, that particular version was actually backdoor. So the file version detection, the file for it is actually under user share in NMAP Services Pro. It's actually kind of cool because with that you can actually put in, hey, send this over TCP or UDP for this port default. And then you can actually list out and go, if it responds this way, go ahead and call it this. If it responds this way, go ahead and call it this. This actually supports regex as well with capture groups. So if there's any information that you think is going to be useful in the response that you send to the service, you can capture that, such as a version number or anything like that. Maybe it responds back with the host name of the machine. You can capture all of that and actually use it. So yeah, it's actually pretty good to spend a little bit of time learn that, because also if you have a service that's unknown but you actually know what it is and you know how it works, create a probe for it and it will actually speed up your scan, because otherwise what it's going to do is it's going to look and go, do I have any default probes for this port? No? Okay. Well, let me try a Hail Mary and send everything in. And then it doesn't get any results on that, but you have to still wait for that to happen. So, but if you do have a rule there that says, oh yeah, that port, send this type of data to it, it'll send that, and if it gets a response back, it goes, all right, well that's already handled. So it can speed things up. You also get a little bit more information, so it's very good to know that. So after versions detection, we can actually literally know that the SSH running on that first machine is actually 6.7. RPC bind version 2, RDP, Samba version 3.x, whatever that could be. We've got a Microsoft SQL server that's 5.0.51 alpha. It's a Ubuntu repo build, so probably gives you a hint to what the server is. And then we've got an Apache HTTP 2.2.8 server. Not a bad place to be for giving that we started with nothing. So OS detection, it's a feature that's designed to try to help you figure out what's running on the remote host. It does this by generally paying attention to very small differences in how different OSs actually implement their stack. So there can be things like, there's another really cool tool for this, it's a P0F. It actually sniffs the network and then just looks for variances in traffic. So like if you ever get a Windows host and a Linux host side by side, do the ping and see what its default time to live is. You can kind of see stuff like that. However, this stuff does kind of leave things to be desired, like it will report the kernel version for some Linuxes and it'll almost 90% of the time it's off. It's not quite right. And I've also had it before where it reported the host is completely wrong. It reported the Linux system as a Windows system. I've also seen it report a Windows system, or a Linux system as a Windows system, yeah. And then I've seen it report a Windows system as a Linux system. So take it with a grain of salt. It can be a little helpful for at least just getting started off, but I would invest too much into that. But still, it can give you an idea. You can try to guess what version and service path and stuff like that it is for the Windows. And again, that could be wrong, but it's always worth letting it go. NFC, which is the NMAP scripting engine, scripts. It allows you to actually build your own scripts in the program or the scripting language Lua. It actually provides an API for all this stuff. It's got actually a lot of libraries as well for doing various things. There's libraries that can let you interact with SMB. like I said, it can actually, there's a ton of scripts out there already that exist. You check out the NMAP site. But they can do anything from host discovery to information gathering to vulnerability detection, DOS attack, brute forcing, exploitation, malware detection, fuzzing, and enhanced version detection. It's extremely useful. Default script location is under user share NMAP scripts. They're there. They usually will end with the .nse extension, even though it's a Lua. But the scripts can actually have categories to them, which is kind of cool. So you have defaults, you have DOS, you have vuln, discovery, exploit, fuzzer, etc. You can actually add more than one category to a script, which is kind of nice. You've got all your documentation online, and scripts can be forced to run at almost any phase of the NMAP. So what's kind of cool is how many options you have for running scripts. Like I said, they have categories. So if you want to, you can do -- script equals and then put a category, and it will run every script that it has in its database that is that category. You also have -sc, which is an alias for -- script default. So if you want to make a script run by default, just add the default tag to it and update your DB. The -- script equals and then script name. It will actually run that script if you just give it a full path to it. Or you can do -- script equals and then give it a folder path, and it will run every script in the folder, which is kind of nice. Or you can actually do as many of these as you want with comma separating them as a delimiter. But it's actually really nice because, like I said, you can do a folder. So if you do a pen test against a client, do your vulnerability scans, like whenever you got your vulnerabilities detected, write a script to detect it and actually be able to confirm, yep, this is that web vulnerability. You throw that there, and this is the other vulnerability that we had. And as many of them that you can detect across the network, you can actually have NMAP report them as correct or valid or invalid. And then whenever the client comes back around wanting you to validate their fixes, you got your second pen test, you'll be able to do the retest real quick and then actually go figure out the ones that were fixed. Were they actually fixed? How were they fixed? But you save yourself a lot of time in the retest. The only thing that I recommend is discovery scripts, throw them in their own folder separately. And any denial of service scripts, you might want to throw in a separate folder for denial of service so you don't just run a denial of service attack against your client again if they told you not to do that. So be careful, just kind of be careful what's in the folder. So, for example, here's one that got ran. It's diffccd. Had a command execution vulnerability. This is an NMAP script that will actually let you, we just ran the script actually up there by name. And as you can see, it actually just dumped up this little list here that said, yeah, it's vulnerable. It's vulnerable, we know it's vulnerable because we actually exploited the service. Here's our proof. We actually ran an ID command, so you can see what the user account was, or user privilege was for it. Here's a description of the vulnerability. Here's your CVE. Here's a bunch of links that actually explain it and reference it and tell you what you want to know about it. If the service was not vulnerable, none of that would have shown up. So it's kind of cool. Another one would be the SME OS discovery script. We ran it against this one. This was a Metasploitable 2-box. It came back and it reported, hey, this is a Unix system running Samba. And remember originally with the version scan, we only got 3.x. Now we got 3.0.20-Debian. Anyone would take a wild guess what that OS is now? It's a Debian system. So cool. Nice. We know what the version is. Now let's just throw that into Google with the word exploit after it. And we come up with a Rapid7 exploit for Metasploit. Username map script command execution vulnerability. Ah, cool. Let's try that. Oh, cool. We got a root shell. So it actually makes it a lot easier for you to be able to actually enumerate this sort of information. You can actually pick out your exploits a lot more surgically. Like I said, that was first attempt at an exploit, and I got in first try. So yeah, so that's actually pretty cool. NMAP also has a -A switch, which combines your OS detection, your version detection, your script scanning, and your traceroute. Script scanning, I think it goes to default with a category and just runs those. There's NMAP, which is a GUI front end for NMAP. He was actually very, very excited about this one when they finally got it up and running. Because he was talking about it, he's like, the one thing that NMAP didn't do was draw maps. He's like, now it does. So it can actually do that stuff. It's also kind of cool because, like I said, you can always have it import your XML. You've actually got your target post on the left. Personally, I'd recommend running your scripts from the command line. And then you can use this to kind of go through the data. I've had issues with this where I've run scans and it crashed. And that was very annoying. But for sifting through data, it's not bad. So that's about the extent of it. As far as further reading, the actual author of NMAP has written a book, which includes, this kind of became its official documentation. It's actually really, really good. Because it actually documents some of the things that aren't actually documented within NMAP. Because there's been a lot of commits and stuff like that over the years that just never got updated or documented. They're in there. And you also get to learn a lot about the ins and outs. And he also covers a lot of real world problems and how we can use NMAP to solve them. And it's actually written with pretty good humor. Probably my favorite story out of that was he was talking about when he was at ShmooCon 2006, I think. But he had this guy that came up and was pointing out in his documentation that several of his examples were showing, like the syntax that you run target.com. He's like, ICANN has dedicated example.com for that sort of purpose, and you should probably update documentation because you're using both. He's like, while he's technically right, that is kind of a weird thing to obsess about. And then I got a business card from him that said he worked for Target. And apparently people were copying and pasting those commands directly out of the man page and running them, and inadvertently this guy was getting flooded with IDS alerts as a result of it. And at that point he said, so this entire next chapter is dedicated to finding the entire netblock space at target.com. So yeah, it's actually got a pretty good sense of humor. I would highly recommend it because it's kind of the authoritative guide to it. It's been awesome. With that said, any questions?
How do you apply the use of the NMAP in your daily work? When you do most of it like customers, you have a new client and you contact them, you're going to scan their servers, or how do you use this tool as a white hat of the
Well, like I said, a lot of this.
software?
So your question is kind of like, how would you use this when you're first going into a new engagement?
You have a nice, this is a nice tool I've used before. But then, if you're not a hacker, like if you don't want to go on the internet scanning people's ports, trying to see what's open, how do you apply to your daily use as a professional? Either IT professional or how do you use that tool?
Okay, so how can you use this tool if you're not a hacker? I'm sorry, I'm trying to repeat it so that way they can read here. So if you're not like a pen tester or an ethical hacker, and you're trying to find uses for it, there are actually a lot of uses, as I said. Say you're an IT consultant, and you're going out to a new job site, and they don't have any network diagrams, they don't know how the network's even working, they don't know what's on it. You can use it for host discovery to figure out what's on your network. There's a web server somewhere here, but I don't know what the IP address is. Port scan for port 80. You can scan the network with it. You can also use this in your home network. Like you own everything in your LAN, so you can scan everything that's inside your LAN network if you wanted to. Sometimes you might even find that you have something that's connected to your network that you totally forgot is there, and you're not even using it. So you can actually use it in those sort of ways. So it's worth playing around with from that context. As far as it goes, like I said, it can be used for host discovery, it can be used for port scanning, it can be used for vulnerability scanning, it can actually be used for inventory purposes. There's a lot of uses for inventory.
You as an IT professional who work for a company, do you ask the company's permission first? Can I'm going to scan your network and then I'll give you a report, otherwise you get in trouble. You have to do that, right?
Yes, I do. Personally, myself, I am a penetration tester. So before you do anything to the client network, you go ahead and get your scope of work that says, yes, you can touch these systems. Before you do anything. So before I even port scan them or do anything like that, I'm going to go ahead and have that, because that's my get out of jail free card. The difference between ethical hacking and illegal hacking is whether or not you have that little slip of paper that says it's cool. We're fine with it.
Maybe I'll jump in and help you out. Another use could be like to bounce back off your cell phone as an external server. If you're setting up a network, a home network, a business network, whatnot, you may want to scan yourself. If you did not make a mistake on the firewall, at least you can open it. Now that's what we're talking about.
Configuration checks.
In a professional environment, you're scanning yourself from the outside.
But then you have permission to do that.
If you own it, you can scan it.
Yeah, correct. That's what I'm saying. Well, how are you gonna go? It's like I go to my neighbor,
Well, here's
and
what
I try to like go to every neighbor
you can do
door,
that.
and I see this door open. Go to the next house. Let me try the front door. Let me try the back door.
You can do that, but the police may come and say
Yeah, that's
something.
what I'm saying.
So if you start scanning a bunch of things, you may hear from your ISP, you may hear from the government, you may hear from various agencies.
Yeah.
And in fact,
It's
there
not
are some
illegal.
segments who have been fired for scanning systems on their own network at their job.
Yeah, so make sure that you're authorized to do it.
I'm a sysadmin, I used to scan machines, got a security department that does that. But there was a guy in Berkeley, I think it was, who was scanning his own network in his company community.
I remember
We're gonna do it.
In any cloud, it's a big no-no. Also, any
Yes.
cloud, if you're in a virtual machine or a container or anything like that, you start scanning other clouds.
Remember, in those cases, you do not own that machine. Amazon or whoever your cloud provider is owns the server.
You remember you mentioned about your ISP? I remember in trouble once, because I was using scanning or something like that.
Yeah, because like what they'll do is.
And then all of a sudden I could not access some kind of cloud.
Yeah, if you're doing that sort of stuff and like you're annoying somebody,
So they say,
they might see that, they might blame your ISP, and then you are going to hear from your ISP.
and then they say, oh, this company said that we're scanning that there's more, there's more than network
Yeah, I guess.
protection thing. So they have a whole bunch of file they send you.
If you look at it on the other end, everybody is always being scanned constantly by somebody.
Yep. Even if you're running this out of your house,
It's being
it's
scanned and
scanned.
thrown at any given time by somebody.
Yeah, because there's a lot of bots out there, and bots just keep scanning the internet, looking for ways of breaking stuff. So,
And it's not illegal. I mean, there's nothing.
yeah, generally you're going to have to do something that's going to be making the main route. For example, it's not uncommon to see things doing port scans. It may be a little less common for it to actually be doing a vulnerability scan. So if you're running NMAP scripts, some of that stuff might actually be detected as weird, and they might look at it and go, huh, somebody's actually trying to access the .htaccess file on our web root. I'm thinking this guy's probably not here with good intentions, and that's when they're going to complain to your ISP. And also probably log that incident and make sure that they make a report. So if it continues to happen, they're getting law involved.
Back in 2000, if I'm not mistaken, 2000 and 2001, the IIS, the Microsoft web server, after you install the service back one, that's a huge, like a whole bunch of servers were like down in a few hours all over the world. I don't know if you guys remember that. I was working at Mastec in Miami. I was working there, and we had like 5 or 6 web servers that were just like hacked and kind of weird, like.
So, yeah, again, another good use for NMAP. You can use it to check for bad default configurations, that sort of stuff. Yeah, so.
I always scan myself. That's my biggest use of it. Turn to the next one.
Yeah,
If you're not
that's.
doing at least that with NMAP, then you're not.
Yeah, you can use it to test a host-based firewall or a network-based firewall. It's actually a wonderful use for it. It's useful a lot for that.
What is fuzzing?
Fuzzing is a process in which you try to find vulnerabilities by just kind of brute forcing input and seeing what happens. So, say a program's vulnerable to a buffer overflow when it gets a certain length of string, it's going to die. Well, we'll just send A, just keep extending that out until finally the thing just goes belly up, and then we'll go, hey, for some reason when I send this input, it dies. And then that way you know, hey, I might want to look at that, because something weird just happened. have, because, you know, like, FTP servers actually have a lot of buffer overflows, historically speaking. They have a fuzzer that will fuzz various inputs for FTP servers. That's one of the NMAP scripts, actually, that's already out there by default. So you can use that to kind of speed up for basic vulnerability.
And the SQL injection vulnerabilities?
I think there's a few out there that can actually, there's a few scripts for that.
That's more for Metasploit than.
Yeah, I was about to say SQL map is probably a better tool for that, or SQL Ninja, one of the two. There's been much better tools that have been designed for that. Because you're also coding these things in Lua.
The other thing about selfie, I'm taking on firewalls, you want to look at versions, if it's dependent things or service shouldn't be giving on versions. So web server shouldn't tell you what version it is, and mail server shouldn't tell you what version.
Yeah, because cutting me off and that sort of information means I'm not going to find the next one as easy. I'm going to have to take some guesswork here.
If you're handing out versions, somebody's going to have that scan, if you are running multiple software, you just told them what version you're going to run, it makes it, like for example, you copy and paste it in Google.
You basically popped it into Google with the word exploit after it, and it came back as exploits.
So if you take version out, then you got to try all the different exploits against whatever you're running.
Yeah, if the server just told me it was Samba and it didn't tell me that it was that vulnerable version, I would actually have to try each exploit, at which point he has the advantage of I'm going to be leaving IDS logs all over the place.
And if you can make up your own names, do it. Like if something identifies yourself as Apache, you can change it to my web server, do that. Because again, you should overall about, obscuring what you're using.
Yeah, I'm going to have to
You
do
don't
a
have
lot
to
more.
tell anybody.
I'm going to have to do a lot more enumeration if he does something like that. So he's making my life a little bit harder with it. It's also enough too that you take into account like a lot of your automated bots just go, oh well, this is what the default banner looks like. Scan it, all right, that's not it. I'm moving on, and it won't try the exploit because it got something it wasn't expecting. So, any other questions?
Do you find the version in the distro sufficient, or do you typically upgrade?
I only do creation of them whenever I actually have something specific that I'm working with. NMAP already has a ton of signatures for version detection. So, as far as it goes for that, like that file is massive.
I can't think of ever needing a new version because it's some new feature, so that's pretty rare. Probably give it up.
Well, I've seen various results between distribution, there's some who think one way or another.
That could either be from Fear's patch information or theory, newer versions of the same better.
Same target.
Same version.
Well,
What I'm saying is the distros have different versions, sometimes they're applying patches in addition to just having different versions.
Oh yeah, you're talking about
So
like
there
builds.
to see within that as well, not just the version release.
Yeah,
In theory,
so-
the newer versions always be better than the older for any sort of protection.
You saw that one, it actually had like Debian on the SMB. It just did a banner grabbing. It was able to actually figure out through banner grabbing. Like I said, it can support reg access, but there's got to be something that limits the field or tells how long it is for other applications to be able to work with that data. So with that, they can actually create something that will do that. Protocol is an agreed upon way to do something, so it should follow some sort of standard that will allow them to move from it.
Further sources for those loss detection. You showed us a folder there with the loss detection indexes in them or whatever they were. Are there further sources for those fingerprints that you can apply to the NMAP program?
You can update it. They actually update that thing all the time. You can actually check the GitHub, or I'm sorry, the Insecure, as well as the Cyclist. If you check Cyclist, people will be submitting things like that there all the time. It's also a good place to go, like whenever you have some new scary flood vulnerability come out, like Heartbleed or something like that. You can usually check the mailing list, and somebody will end up producing a script and go, here's a vulnerability scanner for the Heartbleed vulnerability if you're looking for it, so you can scan your records.
You can make your own be that guy.
Yeah, or if nobody else is doing it, be that guy. So,
That's part of the open source, you can always modify and make it do something it doesn't do now.
yep. So, yeah, that's actually my big thing about it too, is it's like, because it's open source and a lot of these things are actually nothing more than text files, it's really easy to make NMAP very flexible to your need. So, let's see here. So the service profile already has 12,000 lines of service connections that's in it for code for that. As far as it goes, that file is pretty massive. So if we actually wanted to take a look at that. So yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. So the easiest way to look for it is he always puts this comment in there that'll be next probe. And that'll tell you what it's going to send. So in this case, probe for UDP, this is it. We're going to go ahead and send this data. And then you match. You can set up matches and stuff like that. So if I said that I want to scroll up. So yeah, TeamSpeak. So he's got it set up here. So he's going to send this out as his service request. And it could be any of these things that match. So, but he's actually got it sitting here going, oh, okay, well, this is it. This is for Win32, this is for Linux. This actually has no password, or whatever. And you can actually kind of list that stuff out. So, it can also help with your OS protection too. So, but you can actually add this stuff. It's actually really not hard if you look at the documentation. It's pretty straightforward and simple to add. So, a lot of times it'll be stuff like, okay, so like a good example would be like you have a weird little, okay, so how many of you guys are familiar with Fallout 4? Nobody has heard of Fallout 4. Okay. So Fallout 4 actually had a feature where you could actually control things with your tablet. Okay, well, most users don't really know what an IP address is, and they're not interested in learning. So you've got to make it so some sort of magic happens in the background that makes this seamless to the end user. So how would that work? So when you start that up, your Windows firewall will go, hey, this thing's trying to open a port. You want to allow that. You have to say yes if you want to use it. Okay, well, we fire up the tablet, and all of a sudden it just knows that computer's there with that service running. It didn't happen by magic. Use Wireshark. You'll see it sends out a UDP broadcast and then the service reply. So you can actually make a discovery script out of that and then reply back and let you know that's what's there. You can also make it so that if there's that sort of stuff there, you can pay attention to good enough traffic analysis, you can actually create a probe that whenever it sees that port open, will also go, oh, okay, I'm going to go ahead and send this data here and see what we get back. And you can carve that data for useful information. So, any other questions?
So, first of all, thank you for presenting.
Hey, Ron?
You're awesome. I'm sorry I was late. I stuck in a meeting, but
That's okay, we're just silently judging you.
I actually have a little first half.
It's our first half, I think Andy's not here.
That's okay.
That's strike two. That's strike two. Alright, anyway.
But you know, in preparation for this meeting, I purchased the book.
No,
And it was,
Read the book.
yeah. I read the book. Don't call me out. Anyway, so it's Nicholas Marsh's NMAP cookbook. Okay. I mean, I'm almost done, but I'm not gonna. So anyway, my question to you is, what if you're just starting out or you've been working with NMAP and you're trying to advance? What would you recommend as, unless I missed it, other than online resources or books? Or is it just...
NMAP is pretty much the authoritative one. You've also got your man pages as well as their online documentation system.
YouTube videos, maybe.
Do what?
YouTube videos, maybe.
Maybe. I would say probably stick to the NMAP online repo for their documentation because NMAP actually changes quite a bit very fast. So it's not uncommon to see a video that's obsolete. It's going to tell you to run this switch and that switch is not going to do what you think it's about to do. So you should always check your man page. You should always check the online documentation. Because yeah, the switches do change. Some of them get depreciated, some of them do not. Some of them actually just become a new function. And you think you're getting ready to run something and you're about to do something you don't know what you're about to do. Because you want went off of an old video that was 3 years old on YouTube. So,
What's the name of that tablet thing again?
what?
The thing for the tablet? What was the name of it?
Fallout
tablet.
4,
No?
Fallout 4, it's a game.
Well,
Oh yeah, sorry, that was just an example. There's a game, it's called Fallout 4, but you can
Fault 4.
Fallout.
It's Fallout 4, okay.
Yes.
Nuclear
Like nuclear
fallout.
fallout.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a companion app that was designed to let you manage your inventory or do fast travel, so you can set, I guess, your tablet up over here and interact with it. I think more people probably use it for trolling their friends, but yeah, anyway, it was just kind of an example because it used a custom universal plug-and-play discovery system. So you could actually build a discovery script off of that, or you could actually create a service probe that could actually identify the port if it comes across. So I don't know that NMAP actually has one for that yet.
I actually used NMAP for a while, but I hadn't touched it in ages, and now with obviously NMAP and good performance and doing front end, now that they can do actual, maps, networks, does it provide me semantic data about the network you're mapping, or is it just a pretty picture?
Oh, it creates a picture, but most of it's actually going off of the actual trace route data. So it'll use that to figure out how many hops away it is, and then it just kind of creates rings usually that just kind of show you how far off you are, as well as what the route is.
Okay.
So you can kind of see some of that stuff, but like if you were to say you're just scanning your internal LAN,
Yeah.
and let's just say this is an average small home network with just a router, almost everything's going to be in that same orbit, that inner circle, because everything's one hop away. But if you were to run a trace route against, let's say that you actually had like a large network infrastructure and you've got a lot of switches and a lot of routers that you're about to hop through, it can actually tell you how far things are away and what the route is, which sometimes if things are a little misconfigured, the trace route can actually identify what those things are in the middle. If it's really, really misconfigured, you might identify a hardware firewall. Or you might also notice that, there's this little range right here where the IP address changes and then goes back to normal. That was kind of interesting. What was that? So it can actually be useful for helping you draw some maps. Like he had one here, it's a little too small to read, I think. But, as you can see, he's scanning all sorts of stuff. So, /dot.org, YouTube. So you can actually see this. He's here, and this is all the hops that it can go through to get to these things. So. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Now that has a random name.
Yeah. Yeah, he was very, very excited that it could now draw maps. He's like, it's the one thing that it was supposed to do that it couldn't do, draw a map. Now it does it.
How long did it take?
This was actually done in collaboration with a few people. Actually, it was part of the Google Summer of Code.
No, I mean, like, since you started in that ages ago, now it's finally.
Oh, I don't know. I think, I want to say that was 2005, 2006, maybe when it bumped out. Maybe even 2007, so it might have been 10 years.
Wow.
So yeah, oh yeah, it turns 20 this year. So yeah, happy birthday. Next year we'll buy you a beer. Any other questions?
You're going to post this on
Yep, I will post the slides online. And there's a camera there, it looks like it's recording, so there might be a YouTube video as well. Yeah, that's kind of flashy. All right. Rob, you want to go to lunch or whatever?
I think we usually hang out here for a little bit, so
Okay.
you want to hang out? Hang out? Or
If you want to hang out, hang out. If not, feel free to leave.
since the late 90s, 97, 98, somewhere around there. My distribution of choice is, of course, Slackware. I work for a small software company now called Main Street Softworks, and we do credit card transaction processing software. And We're currently hiring. We're looking for a, bring up the email real quick. Silly bifocals. We're looking for a technical support specialist, depending on experience, starting at 40,000. So,
I don't know if you're part of the 2600 chapter
well, yes,
on Facebook.
I can post it there. All right.
Somebody else posted a job earlier today, and there were some people that were looking.
Good, good. Technical support specialist, full-time position located in the Jacksonville office. Purpose of this position is to provide support to all technical departments within the company. Basically, you'll help out our I can read. It's probably easier for me to read. Oh, our certifier guy, yes, work with the certification department to facilitate ongoing software certification using third-party test systems, manage initial response, assist our in-house IT department, and do quality assurance testing. So that's my plug for my company. I've been running Slackware. Let me get back to my presentation. So this is titled Slackware Isn't Dead by me. I was going to subtitle it Slackware Isn't Dead, or Should It Be? But I decided not to. At the end of my last Slackware presentation, I concluded with, if you want to learn Red Hat Linux, get Red Hat Linux, get Fedora, get CentOS, and run it. If you want to learn Debian, get Debian and run it, and learn it. If you want to learn Ubuntu, get Ubuntu, live it, love it, learn it. But if you want to learn Linux, get Slackware and run it. The first beta release of Slackware was in 1993, and currently the current release is 14.2. I ran Slackware 9 through 11 on my desktop for many, many years. I have an old HP Color flatbed scanner, HP 3300C, I think it is. Came with software for Windows 98. Has the old USB 1.0 square connector on it. Still fully operational with Slackware today. Doesn't run with Windows 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. I'll be more than likely switching back to Slackware on my desktop. At some point in time, I couldn't get something installed. I don't remember what it was, but I shifted to Fedora, which is on my desktop now, but I will definitely go back to Slackware really soon. Since I had first installed Slackware 9, the installation has not changed pretty much at all. And that was back in 2003, and it's now 2017. So I'll step you through the install process. When you first boot up Slackware, you'll see, you'll come to this screen. You'll need one or more partitions of the type Linux. Once you've prepared all your partitions for Linux, select type setup to begin the installation. So basically you're going to run fdisk or cfdisk from the very beginning. Picture. Yeah,
Is there a live,
that won't go bigger.
is there a live CD version of this so we can try it?
Actually, there is. I didn't even know that, but yes, there is a live CD version that you can try with Slackware.
So originally what got me into Slackware was the fact that they actually had a modular plug and play for creating live CDs.
For what?
It's
Oh,
modular.
for creating live CDs?
Yeah, you can actually create modules for it, just plug and play into the CD image and it's running.
Oh, really? Cool.
So it actually was really popular for a long time for live CDs.
Okay. Not Knox, what was STP? One of the big,
There's like one distro I remember that was out there for a while. It was actually
that was Slackware based.
Slackware based. It was actually for doing Wi-Fi sync testing.
Yeah.
And
Backtrack.
Wasn't Backtrack.
It was Backtrack through.
Backtrack, right?
One, two.
Back
Yeah.
Yeah.
Backtrack was initially Slackware based.
Yeah, back when it was awesome. Yeah.
Well, I don't know why this picture's here. When you first log in, you type root, and then it says blah, 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 blah. To start partitioning your hard drives, use fdisk or cfdisk. Sure, we can do that. You need to know what partitions you have. So do an fdisk-l, and it will show you all your partitions. And at the very end, since this is on a virtual machine, it has a whole bunch of these SDA or dev RAMs. And then at the end of them, you see dev/dev/SDA 10 gigabyte partition. So that's the one that I'm going to create our file system on. There it is. Trying to find it on the slide. FDIS, dev SDA. P for print your partitions. Show me what you got. And basically it tells you there's a 10 gigabyte disk and there's nothing on it. One slide at a time. I type N for a new partition. I type P for a primary partition. Primary versus extended. Partition number 1 through 4. I selected partition number 1, and I created a new partition 1 of type Linux. Size 10 gigabyte. Then I typed P again to print the partition table. And it shows me there's one partition, dev SDA, 10 gigabytes. Right here, 10 gig, type Linux. That's what I want. And then I type setup, because that's what the instructions told me to do. Once you're done configuring your partitions, type setup. And then you get the installer. This is what it's looked like for as long as I can remember. It's the same.
Yeah, here. Very close to the Debian installer.
Pretty close to Debian? Is it? All right. I select my target partition. Dev SDA 1. Linux 10 gigabyte. Format, quick format. I chose XFS. Adding this information to my file system table. Install it from a Slackware CD. Yeah, that's what I want to do. I'm not going over the network or anything fancy. Automatically query to find the CD. I'm thinking if you're doing this live, it should automatically find it. And then the package selection. What packages do you want to install? Slackware recommends that you install all packages. Believe it or not, yes, they do. Dan's giving me some interesting looks. And it helps with dependencies. Slackware does not start anything by default unless you tell it to start. So even when you install all packages, you install Apache, you install MySQL, you install all these other packages with it. It doesn't start anything. So when you first boot up to Slackware after you've done a full install, nothing's really running until you tell it to run. So you don't have any dependency issues.
Is there a separate version for servers versus GUI?
There is not. Nope. There is not. At least not that I'm aware of.
So you can select if you want just server versions of the packages, or go ahead and just install the GUI anyway?
I would recommend just going and installing everything. I would. So in this case, I did a full install, everything, 9 plus something gig of software. It says recommended in capital letters with an exclamation point.
XFC, all the desktops. KDE,
Oh yeah,
XFC.
my bad. Let me go back. I went through and I unselected KDE or international support for KDE.
Support libraries for known KDE endpoints.
Yeah.
XFCE format.
Yeah. So I run XFCE as my desktop, so I went and unselected KDE. And then it goes through and installs all those packages for you. I don't care about a USB device for booting up, so I skipped that. Next, it's going to install Lilo. If you don't know what Lilo is, it's the Linux loader. It was prior to Grub. So anybody knows Grub is the Grain Unified Bootloader. Before Grub, it was Lilo. Slackware still uses Lilo.
But that project died.
Some programs require extra parameters to be passed to Lilo. In this case, I just took the default. Use the UTF-8X8 text console. I said no, and that was the safe choice. Select the Lilo destination. Said install the master boot record. Mouse, I said use the Microsoft mouse. That's the safest choice. Configure network. Yeah, I like having network access. Gave it a host name, a domain name. At home, I make sure it's on static IP. Gateway. Sweet, I just crashed my Mac again.
Yes.
Alright, so I'll pretend that I just finished my install. After Lilo installs, I think that's about it anyway. So, after Lilo installs, then reboots, what do you do next? Well, first thing I want to do is I want to add a user. So, I do the user add, give myself a username, Rob, and add myself to the sudoers list. That's kind of important if you want to sudo and do admin type stuff. The network configs in Slackware are in rc.inet1.conf. So if you want to go and change your static IP or change your configuration to use DHCP, you do it there. And for those changes to take effect, just do rc.inet1 restart, and your network changes take effect. There's no system CTL, there's no service restart, blah, blah, blah. This is the old school way, and it still works. When your system first boots, you get the black screen, like a server screen. So, how do you actually boot to a GUI? You can type start X. You can type init5. If you wanted to do it automatically when the system boots, you would change the etc init tab file and change the default run level.
If you decided to install all the desktops and you run start X, which one does it default to? Because it's based off your xconfig file, so it's going to be one.
Do you have to write your xconfig file?
I did not have to.
No, it probably
not have to do
it
that.
defaults to something.
This one defaults to XFCE.
Oh, really?
I deselected KDE when I installed it.
Okay.
I did not, everything else was still selected. And I booted to XFCE, or not booted, but started it with XFCE.
It's a sensible one to start with.
What's that?
It's a sensible one to start with.
Yeah, I agree. It's a sensible one to start with. There's a myth that's been going around ever since Red Hat debuted its RPM manager, that Slackware has no package management tool. All right? Simply couldn't be further from the truth. Slackware has always included a package manager even before Red Hat even existed. While not as full-featured or as ubiquitous as RPM, package tool and its associated programs are every bit as good as installing packages as RPM. The truth about package tool is that is not that it doesn't exist, but it doesn't do any dependency checking. Is that good, or is that bad?
Bad.
Oh, I'm hearing a lot of bads.
RPM doesn't do dependency checking either.
That's true. Dpackage does not, and neither does RPM.
It makes sure that you have the dependencies installed that it needs.
Yum does,
Yum
or
does.
Smart does. But those things are added on top of RPM. RPM by itself will let you install things that don't work.
Yeah, but it has the dependencies in it.
Dependencies.
Yeah,
Huh?
RPM actually has the dependencies inside of the package management.
It knows that you keep the RPM IDH file that doesn't
Oh, yeah.
have something else.
You can force
It
it.
won't put it in. Unless you're using Yum or Smart or YASP or one of the tools that sit on top of RPM.
But it knows about the dependencies.
It does know about them, it just doesn't do anything about it.
Well, yeah.
Package tool is closer to package and alerts.
I was
Doesn't know anything
thinking
about it, but it
yeah.
doesn't care.
It doesn't care, exactly. Yeah.
You don't have all the things. I don't care. Okay.
Yep, exactly. All right.
Actually, this alerts package will complain that you have dependencies. It just won't look at them for you.
Right.
All right, this is not to say that Slackware packages don't have dependencies, but rather that package manager doesn't check for them. Dependency management is left up to the sysadmin, and that's the way we like it. This is Slackware's stance on it. So, you as a sysadmin are in control of your servers. You know what packages are installed on your system. At least you should know what packages are installed on your system. If you use Yum or whatever Debian's thing is, and you install a program that installs 50 others, what holes have you just opened up? I don't know, they go so fast when Yum installs them, I have no idea what it just installed. So, that's Slackware's stance on this. You as a system administrator need to install all those dependencies so that you know what's installed on your system.
That's why they recommend installing.
But after that, Slackware packages after you've installed everything and you want to install something that's not included, you can go to slackbuilds.org and use this site to download the source and in the build script for that package that you want to install. So if you go to slackbuilds.org, you'll see a link for the source and then a link for the package. And you download both of them and run the build script, and it builds it from scratch and installs it on your system. There's also another one, the Alien builds. Use this site to just download the pre-built package, as Alien Bob has already packaged it up for you. Alien Bob has not done all these packages, but I mean every package that you could possibly want, but he's done quite a few. I was going to do some GNU radio stuff, some SDR stuff that was done last month. So I've had a lot of fun with that. Installing GNU radio. First thing I read, requires Cheetah. What the heck's Cheetah? I don't know. So I downloaded the Cheetah package, read the website, installed it with setup.py. Great. Downloaded GNU radio from the Slug build site and installed it with install package space GNU radio dot blah 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 blah, and it installed that just fine. Then I started trying to run the RTL_FM, and I got the dreaded error while loading shared libraries. Everybody remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So I went trying to find it, and there it is in user local lib, where it should be. So what do you do to get around this? Oh, silence on there. I did an env, which should not be capitalized, that should be a little e. Little env shows your environment, or all your environmental variables. And I grabbed that for a library, and it returned nothing. So my load library path was empty. So I added it to my .bash profile file and exported it. Log out, log back in for that to take effect, or you can just rerun the file. And it said no supported devices found. What? Well, and then I remembered I read through his thing and it said, oh, I need a blacklist of modules, that's it. So I went through and I blacklisted those modules. I put them in the etcmodpro.d, and I created a file called rtl.conf. Tried running it again, no supported devices found. Because this was running as a VM, I didn't actually click the little button that said, hey, let this USB device be seen by the VM and running inside of it. So, once I did that, then the RTL_FM command worked, and I was able to stream 89.9 stereo 90, and it works just fine. So next I wanted to install GQRX, and that's this little cool waterfall display thing. And this was weeks ago when I was doing all this. And man, I was way ahead of the time, way ahead of the power curve. I was going to be super prepared for this topic. I was going to have lots of cool stuff at the end of it. Yeah, the rabbit hole begins. I need Qt5. Slackware 14.2 comes with Qt4. No problem. Downloaded the package from Alien. I installed it with install package. Piece of cake, and installed fine. Trying to run GQRX. It says I need GNU radio config.cmake. I installed that package. Why can't it find it? So I did a find from root by name gnuconfig.cmake. And sure enough, it's there, user lib64cmake, blah, 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 blah. And I found out, oh, I need this other environmental variable called gnu-radio-dir. So I put that in my .bash profile. No package gnu-radio also found. So I did the git thing and make directory build, cd to build, run a cmake. Actually, you run cmake space .. And it builds from the build directory, back one directory. Make and then make install. And then finally, no. Oh wait, yes. That one did work. QRX is finally configured. Yay! And then I tried to run it. This application failed to start because it could not find or load the Qt platform plugin XCV. What is that? This had nothing to do with the library libxcv not being found. After days of chasing dead ends and consulting a C programmer at my work who has lots of experience with Qt, I met with Dan for a beverage, and after putting our heads together, we were able to figure out doing an LDD of the libqxcv.so file revealed I had some missing libraries, libinput and libxkcv common. Had I paid attention to the dependencies file of the Qt package, it specifically said those two are required.
RTFM.
RTFM, yes. Read your dependencies. So, I downloaded libinput, read, hey, this has a dependency, libwacom. I downloaded it, installed it with install package, then I installed libinput and libxkcv common with the package tool or install package. All those went swimmingly. And then GQRX starts, yay! And when I select the correct device, the waterfall display actually works. I was like, oh my gosh, hallelujah. Unfortunately, some of the cool stuff that I was thinking about weeks ago, showing you and demonstrating, unfortunately, it's not working like I wanted it to. I wanted it to show some CV stuff. However, the CV radio band is about 27 megahertz. The oscillator chip on the USB dongle is 28.8 megahertz. You can't pick up frequencies lower than the oscillator oscillates. The lowest frequency that you can pick up is about 30 megahertz using that dongle. That was a bummer.
There's a lot of amateur radio bands, about 30.
What's that?
There's a lot of, pretty much all of them, amateur radios about 30 megahertz.
Okay.
A lot of them are just using FM.
Yeah.
HD radio, thought that was a great idea. No, it's proprietary in the United States. It's actually, yeah. What? Yep.
Yeah, ours works different than the rest of the world.
Yeah, the rest of the world, it's not
Like
proprietary.
the rest of the world actually knows how to
It is.
decode their HD streams.
Yep. No. There's a way to make money? Oh, yeah. I can't make this up.
I don't want to hear it. You're on HD.
Yeah, NPR.
Don't say it like you should be.
Actually, part of the HD radio that's really interesting is the data streams that go along with it.
I'm sure somebody's probably reverse engineered those codecs.
I'm sure they have, it's just we don't have a way.
I can't, yeah, I searched for HD radio Linux codecs, and yeah, I can't find it right now. So.
Fairly niche.
Maybe somebody in the 2600 group might know something? Hint, hint, hint. But I do not.
I still haven't gotten around to the paper experimentation.
All right, so, I'm checking. That was quick. Are there any questions so far? Yes, sir.
Would SDR Sharp run on the Slackware, do you think, or you wouldn't have to go through this learning experience?
Should, you have to get your modern libraries and stuff. I'm not sure what sort of rabbit hole that is.
What is it, SDR Sharp?
Yeah.
That's the
One of the
Windows package,
packages
usually.
that amateur radio operators use.
It's kind of like what you just installed, except it's written in C# that uses .NET, so you need Mono. If you can get the Mono running on the Slack, I don't see why it wouldn't work.
One of the reasons that I got off this, that I had to get off of Slack is I was trying to install something under Wine. And Wine is Wine is not an emulator, it runs the Windows tools.
Yeah.
A lot of the Windows stuff is written for 32-bit. Slackware 14, Slackware 13.37. Actually, starting with Slackware 13.37, they went to full 64-bit. They provided no 32-bit libraries. Really. So I had to go through quite a rabbit hole to get the 32-bit libraries just so I could install Wine.
So if you want to do cross-compiling,
Yeah.
how would you go about that?
That's a good question. You can download, actually there's a script now that will go out and download the 32-bit libraries from Slackware. Well, I haven't done that since, so. Yes?
Are there things I can install that don't tell you like RTS, I'm like, you need these packages, like,
No, every package that you download will list its dependencies.
like let's say you weren't doing that RTL, you're doing something else, and you kind of like got into problems like that. Like you needed a package you didn't know that you needed.
I'm standing in front of the speakers and it's causing feedback. So.
I'm just saying, like,
Um,
have you run into anything that?
It's
like
been
your
it's been a
dependency
while
are-
since it's been a while since I've actually used Slackware on my desktop.
Okay.
So I just started diving back into Slackware. These are my first several programs that I got back into and started running into. Oh yeah, I need to check the dependencies because it doesn't do it for you anymore.
That's the way you like it.
And that's the way we like it. Because it teaches you everything that you should know about Linux. You should know about how your libraries are discovered, what's your library path, and all the other paths. So if you don't know all that stuff, you need to learn it at some point in time, and better sooner than later. In my humble opinion.
Is there a ARM version instead of just API?
I'm pretty darn sure. I'm pretty sure there's even a version for the Pi.
It's
Yeah, that's an ARM, yeah. So,
I think
It's called ARM, whatever.
Tutorials on how to do it, so
okay.
it can be done.
Yes.
Packages, can you still, presume you can still use turnballs?
Oh, yes.
And they're, if you are comfortable with other language learners, can you install the Slackware Enumeration or
Yes, there are converters that you can convert from RPM or dev to the Slackware package. I don't remember what that is off the top of my head, but it does exist. And it's in Slackware's docs. Okay. So yes, they do exist. Any other questions? Go once? Twice? All right. Afterwards, we go to a